because the BAR is not just in a podium position, it's in second place. If anything happens to Michael Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve could win this race, but there's a long way to go. David Coulthard then lost 25 seconds on that pit stop, stopping, coming in, getting out again. And it's not just the 25 seconds, it's the fact that Verstappen, Trulli, Zonta, Frentzen, De La Rosa, Hakkinen and Rubens, Barrichello and Jacques Villeneuve are ahead of him. And although, as I said, it's easier to pass here than on many circuits, that doesn't mean to say it's easy. And look at this battle now as Mika Hakkinen follows. Villeneuve second, Barrichello third, Hakkinen fourth, De La Rosa a magnificent fifth in the arrows. Sixth now in the points is Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the top Jordan. Zonta is up to seventh, Trulli is up to eighth, Verstappen is up to ninth, Johnny Herbert is out of the race. Eddie Irvine has already been lapped after the problem he had at the beginning of the race. So Jaguar, having looked a lot stronger at Monaco, have got no illusions about the fact that they've still got a lot of work to do.
Hakkinen very close, and Barrichello's going to have to defend the line, and Hakkinen's got to go the long way round. He'll have a job getting round there, but Barrichello knew exactly what he had to do there. Hakkinen got a run on him out of the last chicane, but no position change, and it gave Villeneuve a little bit of breathing space. De La Rosa enjoying himself. I think that's until he has to pit much earlier than the three cars in front of him. Yeah,
I just saw a puff of smoke there. You always worry when you see a puff. It could be something entirely innocent. It could be a problem.
It was Barrichello's right front, without doubt, but often happens there just as the load transfers across the anti-roll bar of the front and the inside wheel goes light as you begin to turn the wheel while still on the brakes waving, and the driver having to pull out of the way. Normally it's because he's being lapped, but the orange arrows are going exceptionally well here this afternoon, regardless of their fuel or whatever that turns out to be, and it's not going to be an easy breeze past for Coulthard to make his way through this pack. He's got to keep his head at this stage of the race.
When you get into a period of comparative rule stability in Formula One, the teams that have got the money, that have built up an advantage, are caught by those who haven't got so much. And we're seeing it now, because this is a real motor race here at Montreal, as we look at the BAR, the Ferrari, the McLaren and the arrows of Pedro de la Rosa at the back in fifth position. Villeneuve keeping Barrichello behind him, who's keeping Hakkinen there behind him, 2 times world champion. Villeneuve up into third position now. We're going to see with the French-Canadian. He's passed Frentzen on the left. There is Coulthard in front of him. Barrichello is passed by Villeneuve, and now he goes up into still fourth position. He's got the inside line. He squeezes David Coulthard out, and there he is again.
It's Hakkinen he's squeezing out. Mary Coulthard was ahead of them, so it's Barrichello away poorly, Hakkinen away reasonably. Hakkinen brakes too early.
Well, Mika Hakkinen has got a bit of the pressure off him. Here he is in picture now. Mika Hakkinen in fifth position, at least has got to just worry about trying to get past Barrichello without also having to try to stop De La Rosa getting past him, because there's now a 3-car battle for second place and not a 4-car battle. In the white BAR, Jacques Villeneuve. In the scarlet Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello, who was second at Monaco, and then Mika Hakkinen. Mika Hakkinen not looking so good here, as he didn't look so good in Monaco. David Coulthard looking a lot better, and David is down in 9th position now as a result of that penalty.
Yes, you're right. Hakkinen no longer has to look in his mirror and be defensive anymore, but he still can't get much nearer to the back of Barrichello's car. But this just underlines, doesn't it, how important qualifying is, and then how important it is, and that's why you see them all through the weekend, all through practice, all through testing. They even go to special places to practice their starts. It's everything. It means you're hemmed in for the first half of the race at least. It's if you don't get a good grip position and get away well.
Monaco and Barrichello having a look at Jacques Villeneuve. You see, Barrichello knows that if only he could get past the BAR, he could pull away from it. He's got more power and the car handles beautifully. But Jacques Villeneuve is sticking on the racing line. He's not giving Barrichello any room. Meantime, Mika Hakkinen just sits back and watches.
Yes, if it gets slippery out there, I think it's going to be Villeneuve that struggles the most of that trio, because his car clearly has less downforce than the Ferrari. And that's Coulthard having a problem at turn 3. That's not what he needs to be doing if he wants to come through the field. So the track is clearly getting a little bit slippery.
Yeah, and I think it was Jean Alesi that we saw flying past him in the Prost, and he was in 12th position. So that could have cost David 3 more positions. But if the rain continues to canal, let's have a look and see what happened. We're with Coulthard now.
Oh, that's oil. That's oil on the track. I think you'll find the arrows has blown up or something. We said it was leaking fluids, but look, they're so nearly touched.
That's Verstappen.
But if a car swaps ends like that on you as you turn into a corner, it's almost certainly because there's oil or water on the racetrack, as now Barrichello starts to really harass the BAR of Villeneuve.
What an absolutely brilliant recovery by David Coulthard. It looked to me as though he got the nose of the McLaren tucked under the wing of the arrows, and Barrichello going through. Is he? Yes, yes. Villeneuve's got the inside line. And Barrichello keeps his foot down. This is great. And look at Hakkinen in the background. Villeneuve second, Barrichello third, Hakkinen fourth, down to the hairpin.
Now Barrichello's just got to get a good run out of him. He can, if he just keeps his head, keeps it calm through. But Villeneuve too wise. He kept it steady in the middle, slowed down a little bit and got himself sorted out for a good slingshot. And Barrichello comes up the inside one more time, and this time it's going to stick. And for sure, Verstappen is in the pits with a problem. I think his engine blew, put Coulthard straight off the racetrack. Coulthard having a nightmare afternoon.
Well, this is a nightmare for McLaren too, because now Ferrari is first and Ferrari is second, as Barrichello tears off one of the tear-off strips from his visor, throws it away. Now we can expect to see him pull away from Jacques Villeneuve, who is looking in his mirror, determined to stay on the podium by keeping Mika Hakkinen behind him. But Hakkinen is going to be absolutely determined to get past, because he realises that now with 2 Ferraris in front of him, the best that he can hope to get is 4 World Championship points if they go the distance, and that is even if he gets past Jacques Villeneuve, and that's going to be very, very difficult. So now Schumacher, 27-7, we haven't seen much of him. Here it is again.
Yes, this is down into the hairpin, and well, we saw Rubens have a slightly better run out of the previous corner, and he positioned his car well. Jack had no defence on that one. He really had no way of closing the door once Barrichello got his car up alongside.
And just look at the way Barrichello is now pulling away from the battle between Villeneuve and Hakkinen for 3rd position. And look at the 2 Jordans now, because Frentzen is 5th. There he is. Behind him is Jarno Trulli. So both the Jordans are in the points, and we've still got 43 laps to go.
It's obviously just a little bit moist out there. They've dropped about 2 to 3 seconds per lap. Michael Schumacher now has picked up speed again in the front, so that little flurry of rain that came across is now, I can just see still spitting the rain out there. It's cost them about a couple of 3 seconds a lap, except for Michael Schumacher.
Well, that dreaded turn 15 has only been hit once this year, and that was by Pedro Diniz in the Sauber this morning, and he deranged the nose and the suspension of the car. So far, everybody's been able to keep away from the Quebec wall, as it's called, because of the Quebec poster that's attached to it. But there's very heavy rumble strips on the inside. You've got to keep clear of those. Villeneuve second, Hakkinen third. The gap between them, you can see for yourself. And I'm sorry, it's Villeneuve third and Hakkinen fourth. And the 2 Jordans, 5th and 6th. Now, 7th position is Ricardo Zonta. He's 3.5 seconds behind Jarno Trulli's Jordan. And that's the second of the yellow cars you're looking at in the background. So it's a great race for BAR if they can keep going, because both their drivers are in the top 7 as Trulli nips past Heinz-Harald Frentzen, his teammate, and takes 5th position away from him. And Trulli is the man to watch, the multiple kart champion of Europe, who then became German Formula 3 champion. Here it is again. Let's have a look.
Yes, and just the same as we saw really with Barrichello passing Villeneuve. Trulli takes a big step up the inside, gets track position, and there's no defending that once they've got their car alongside. Otherwise, you'll just tear the wheels off of both cars. So Hakkinen there, still struggling to pass Villeneuve. And now we've got Schumacher and Barrichello back in the 120.9s. The only other man anywhere near that was Coulthard, who did 20.9 last time around. But the rest of them late 1:21.
Lap 28, positions and gaps. Schumacher, 26 seconds. Barrichello, 3 seconds. Villeneuve, 0.2 of a second. Hakkinen, there they are. Trulli, 2.5 seconds behind Hakkinen, and now a second ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who is in 6th position. Ricardo Zonta is 7th. Fisichella in the Benetton is moving up through the field. He's in 8th position. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams that we've heard nothing about, who started down in 12th position, has now carved his way up to 9th place. Alesi is 10th. David Coulthard, having lost those 2 places when he went off, is down in 11th place. Terrible luck for him.
Well, new fastest lap there, as you can see, from Michael Schumacher, 1:20.2. That's faster than last year's race. So now any moisture on the racetrack clearly has gone. And that is Hakkinen trying desperately hard still to put the frighteners on Villeneuve. Villeneuve will have nothing of it. And he, as I predicted, he was certainly struggling more on that damp track. Now the track has come good again. Villeneuve should be back to being able to hold off Hakkinen.
Well, this has not been a good circuit for Jacques Villeneuve in his first year here with the Williams. He ended up in the Quebec wall. He finished second to Damon Hill the next year. Then the next year he went into the wall again. So for him to be up here in 3rd position is a very considerable achievement. But Rubens Barrichello is increasing his speed now. He's just done the fastest lap of the race to reduce his gap between himself and the leader, Michael Schumacher, to just over 26 seconds. And in the process, he is now 4.5 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. There is Villeneuve with Hakkinen behind him. And Ferrari are on a potential 16 World Championship points to the 3 World Championship points that Mika Häkkinen will score for McLaren if he finishes in 4th place. And of course it's potentially extending Michael Schumacher's already considerable World Championship lead, but there's still a long way to go. Now look back and you'll see David Coulthard.
Yes, Coulthard making his way down the field for one reason and another with his stop-go penalty, spinning off on Verstappen's oil. But watching there earlier on, 2 or 3 corners before, Hakkinen quite clearly has a much better car under braking than Villeneuve. If he can get anywhere near him, he will slip past, but he just can't get close enough bite out of the corners to stay close enough to have a stab. So while Coulthard is on the back of that pack.
So Schumacher now 26 seconds ahead of Barrichello, the fastest man on the track. Barrichello, Jacques Villeneuve, Hakkinen and Trulli together, battling for 3rd position, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen dropping back. There he is, and he's being caught by Zonta, by Fisichella in the Benetton, and by Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. There is Ralf Schumacher, and the German is driving a very plucky race, because at Monaco he had that very heavy collision with the wall at Saint-Devote, had a nasty gash in his leg. Lap 32 at Montreal, and the top 6, Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, leads Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari, by 26 seconds. Jacques Villeneuve is 34 seconds behind Schumacher, but just ahead of Hakkinen. There is Villeneuve, there is Hakkinen. Jarno Trulli, 5th, has caught them, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 6th in the second. Jordan is dropping back. So Schumacher, Barrichello, Villeneuve, Hakkinen, Trulli, Frentzen.
Yes, the only significant thing that happened while we were in the break was, as you saw, Barrichello setting a new fastest lap, 1:19.6. That's a good lap time, but he's got 26 seconds to make up to Michael Schumacher. But it's certainly put Schumacher on notice, and he's had a bit of a hurry up. and he does not need his teammate homing in on him at half a second a lap. Otherwise, he's got a problem later on in the race. And this is Villeneuve. You're on board, you're in third position on the Grand Prix, and he is somehow still keeping that McLaren behind him. And this is why they've got to change some aspects of the design of these cars, because they just are too difficult to overtake with.
And they're too difficult to overtake because the air behind Villeneuve's BAR Honda is so disturbed that Mika Hakkinen will be losing downforce from the front wing of his McLaren, as a result of which he gets less grip on the front tyres, and it's the front brakes, incidentally, which take an enormous pounding here. Here is Michael Schumacher closing up on Gaston Mazzucato's Minardi. He is in 20th position and he is about to be lapped. Now, this is the first man to be lapped, other, of course, than Johnny Herbert and Eddie Irvine, both of whom are out of the race very early in their Jaguars. Now, Mazzucato, I hope for Michael Schumacher's sake, is keeping a very careful eye on his mirrors. He ought to be, because there's nothing in front of him.
Ferrari mechanics in the pit lane, Murray. So I don't know who that may be for. It could be for Barrichello if he started the race on a little bit less fuel, to give him a half a chance of sprinting past the McLarens off the line. Mazzucato moves out of the way, lets Michael through on the racing line, and we await to see which Ferrari is going to make a stop. I would say it's quite early to be making, if they're on a one-stopper, it's quite early to be making that stop, but it clearly doesn't mean to say they've got to come in twice. So Michael has got enough of a lead to be able to do it, 25.2 seconds. It will put him behind Barrichello, but I'm assuming he's not on more stops than Barrichello.
There is Barrichello. This is a surprise to me, actually, but it's exactly in line with James Allen's forecast. He said expect people round about lap 35. Well, it's lap 34 now. I was expecting some of them to stay out until as late as lap 50, as in comes Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and he slipped down through the field.
They're not ready for him, Murray. I'm looking out of the pit lane, and they're only look, now they're just coming out. Look, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe, Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, the team obviously caught unawares there. Frentzen has been having a problem with his brakes. It was actually a team decision to allow Trulli to come through because Heinz-Harald was slow with his brakes.
Schumacher in, Louise, I'm sorry. Schumacher in. Michael Schumacher, from the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix, comes into the pit lane at a maximum speed of 80 kilometres an hour. Now, he should be able to almost get out before Rubens Barrichello arrives. The gap was 25 seconds. It's a comparatively relaxed stop. They're adjusting the front wing angle here. Was something... Well, that's a long stop, 9 seconds, but nobody... There's Barrichello. Barrichello goes through into the lead. Michael Schumacher is second.
Seems to be a certain amount of uncertainty, really, about Michael's right rear, and they are pulling Frentzen out of the race. Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, yeah, as I was saying, Frentzen was having a problem with his brakes. It's turned into a terminal problem. The team were expecting him to come in about 3 or 4 laps' time. As we saw, he came and caught them totally unawares. He made the decision himself that the brake problem had got too bad. Nothing for him to do but pull into the garage and retire.
And Mika Hakkinen is ahead, unseen by us, of Jacques Villeneuve. So, Rubens Barrichello leads, Michael Schumacher is second, and Mika Hakkinen is there. There's a replay as you see them coming down into turn 1. Michael Schumacher leading the race. Mika Hakkinen attacks, goes through on the inside of Jacques Villeneuve, who didn't seem to resist him at all.
I think Villeneuve's ailing a little bit somewhere. We said, and we could see, there's some blue smoke coming out of the back of the Prost Peugeot there. Whether he's getting a bit too hard on it, no, that's a problem there. That's history, that one. But it seemed that Hakkinen was getting better and better under braking than the BAR, and yes, that didn't get very far, did it?